Hi, everyone. Morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Ranato Mورز, and I'm a direct apprentice of Carlos Castaneda, and also a director of Clear Green, the company that Carlos started to disseminate his work. And today, I'm going to be talking about navigating uncertain times, because we definitely are living in uncertain times. Depending upon the country you're in, depending upon what has happened in the last couple months, many of us don't know who to believe or who to trust or what to believe in and what to trust. I mean, when we're looking at the lawmakers, they are in a state of navigation or exploration in a way, because guidelines that were implemented a couple months ago are not the same as they are today. They keep on changing every single day. This can be confusing for us. This can inject fear in us. If you're looking at medical media in certain countries, you've got this vaccine over here, which is great. It's going to be ready in 6 months. Oh my gosh. But it doesn't help anybody over the age of 55. Then you've got this vaccine with the RNA, which hasn't panned out at all. And then you've got this vaccine over here, which will heal a wide band of the population, but it won't be ready for 2 years. Where do we put our hopes? And treatments. Doctors internationally are warring with each other. Mine is the best. No, mine is the best. Yours isn't good enough, etc., etc. Things are changing. Things are mutable. Things are unstable. And this makes us the same. Now, where were we before this happened to us? Well, a couple months ago, our lives were pretty regular. Our lives are pretty steady. Our lives were pretty even regimented, to the point that the night before we got up for work, we'd complain and go, oh my gosh, I have to get up to work in the morning, because we knew that in the morning we would indeed get up for work, take the subway, take the car, etc., and go meet our work colleagues. Right now, we're not sure we might have a job. Or before, what did we do before? Oh my gosh, Friday nights, I'd go out with my gal pals, or maybe your guy friends. You meet at the pool hall, you meet at your favorite restaurant, you catch up for the week, you talk about boyfriends, etc. Everything that's happened. Today, now, that restaurant might not be open. That restaurant might only have street dining, outdoor dining. That restaurant might be closed. Or for gosh sakes, the major one I think we're all feeling is either barbers and salons. Yes, we don't know when there's going to open. We don't know what they're going to be allowed to do. And our hair grows and grows and grows. These are incredibly uncertain times. Now, all of this begs a question. And the question is, before, when times seemed secure, were they really? Or did we want them to be secure, and we turned all of this completely changing world into a non-changing world, into a world that was static, into a world that was, how do you say it, almost complacent, enough that we could complain about, regular, dependable? Did our wanting stability and security turn our perceptions of an ever-evolving, changing world into something static, certain, reliable, unchangeable? That may be a question for another time. But let me tell you what the seers of ancient Mexico did. We today have lived in uncertain times for maybe a few months, maybe some of us 8 months. Those seers lived in uncertain times their whole lives. It wasn't just spotted, it was continual. They were at the whim of nature, whether it was droughts, whether it was torrential rains for days and weeks and months and years on end. They couldn't change it. They didn't attempt to change it. They were at the whim of it. Medicine. They didn't have our medicine of today. They didn't have our antibiotics. And so women in childbirth died, many of them. Wounds could never heal and probably caused the person to die. And amongst all of these things which we might call hardship, these people thrived. These people survived because they were in the present moment. They lived for now. Not because it was a choice, not because they were attempting to live some philosophical or metaphysical paradigm, but because they had to. And within these ever mutable times, again, they survived and thrived. Now you might ask why that is. One reason is that they were amazingly portable, that they were navigators. They anticipated that change would come tomorrow. They didn't anticipate that tomorrow would be the same as today. So in their anticipation of change, they had houses, they had water vessels, they had everything that you could wrap it up in a couple hours, put it on your back, put it on your horse, your donkey, etc. Pull it behind you in a thresher, in one of those pull trays, and move from place to place in order to survive. That isn't quite us today. We have a lot of baggage. To start out, we have a lot of emotional baggage. I think some of you keen perceivers have probably noticed that people are more personal or take things more personally now than ever before. The other day, I was in a park taking in the rays, oh my gosh, the birds and all this, and I was reading a book. And a stranger, an absolute stranger came by me, and he goes, were you looking at me? And I'm going, no, I was reading my book. He goes, well, make sure you don't. And I go, okay, make sure I don't look at you. Got that? Or maybe if we're even talking to a friend and we're freely expressing ourselves, we're open and honest, and we state our honest point of view about something, and they go, oh, wait a minute, I'm feeling a little pressure here, feeling a little pressure in my chest. Yeah, I don't think I can follow this discussion. I'm feeling a little abused right now. Don't ever talk about that topic to me again. And you're going, okay, got it. My best friend, got it. We are more personal now. We are more on the defense. We are defensive. We wear a defensiveness on our sleeve. It's not buried anymore. It comes out. This is personal baggage. This is emotional baggage. We haven't finished with some relationships. We haven't gotten closure with some of our relationships with our parents, with past partners, with past friends. We just let them roll on, unattended, unclosed. And they create baggage in this. Other things that are baggage, possessions. Now, we are creatures of comfort. Us modern people are creatures of comfort. I will be the first one to raise my hand. In my own little small apartment here, I have a gas oven. I have an electric stovetop. I have a crock pot. I have a toaster oven. I have an electric barbecue. And the list goes on. And if there aren't enough ways for me to cook my own meals, I can have it delivered to my front door. And if I want to pretend or fantasize that I am Wolfgang Puck for a minute, I can get all the ingredients for a spectacular meal, plus the recipe, delivered fresh to my door. Wow. What happened with growing a few things in your garden? Many of us do that anymore. Or, my gosh, let me tell you about the way we sleep. Let me tell you about my bed. Yes, I admit I have a Tempur-Pedic, and that's one of those boutique beds, right? And it comes with a hand dial of 20 different things that I can do. I can make it harder. I can make it softer. I can make it cooler. I can make it warmer. It takes me a good 5 to 10 minutes to program in. What's my feeling right now? No. What am I feeling right now? Before I jump into bed. What happened to sleeping in a hammock under the stars, getting a sleeping bag, just crawling in and laying down and going to sleep upon the earth? We don't do that anymore. very much anymore. No. Well, what about our fabulous modes of transportation? Our cars now, at least the ones I'm familiar with, they will brake for you. They'll stop. If we get too close to somebody, they will stop. The whole car will stop. It'll brake for you. They will park for us now. A lot of us always had a problem parking, but no, they will park for us. And for ever so long, we've been able to put them on cruise control on the highways. And they just keep the same amount of gas flowing through the engine, and they keep us at a constant speed. What happened to walking? Maybe some of us still do it. All of these creature comforts, as Carlos would say, make us kind of soft. They make us kind of weak. They make us kind of immobilized. They make us kind of stiff. They make us unable to fend for ourselves, and some of us unable to think our way out of a paper bag. So, let me tell you what the seers of ancient Mexico did differently in uncertain times, which again was every day of their life. Now, I'd like to share with you a quote about intention, and intending, which is what Carlos's teacher, Don Juan, taught Carlos Castaneda to do in uncertain times and certain times, all the time. Don Juan says that intent is a perennial force that permeates the entire universe. A force that is aware of itself to the point of responding to the beckoning or to the command of shamans. By means of intent, those shamans were capable of unleashing not only all the human possibilities of perceiving, but all the human possibilities of action. Through intent, they realized the most far-fetched formulations. What those seers did was they silenced their mind. They silenced the conscious part of their mind. And in doing that, they began to perceive other distinct and different forces in the universe, one of which was an intent. And in their silent space, they attempted and successfully aligned with it, connected with it, and it helped guide them along their way, not just with endless possibilities of perceiving, but endless possibilities of action, what they would be doing in their daily life. Now, as part of intent, what do we humans do? We intend. For Don Juan, intending was the tacit act of filling out the empty spaces left by direct sensory perception. Or, another way of saying this, the act of enriching the observable phenomena by means of intending a completeness that doesn't exist from the point of view of pure perception. Now, what does that mean for all of us? What does modern people do? How we use intending is we're walking down the street, we're talking to a friend, and for a second, for a flash, there's something we catch out of the corner of our eye. It could be a light, it could be a darkness, it could be a shadow, but something catches our attention. Oh my gosh, it might even give us a jolt. And then what happens with our conscious brain? Our conscious brain starts sorting through its Rolodex of lived memories. Our conscious mind doesn't hold all of our memories, just a very, very, very few. It's very limited. But it starts rolling through them and trying to see, oh my gosh, that thing looked like something similar to something I've already experienced. That thing looked like this. That thing has 4 legs. That thing has 4 wheels. That thing has da-da-da. And eventually our conscious mind labels it. Oh, that was just a tree. Oh, that was just a dog. Oh, that was my friend. And then, knowing what that was, we breathe securely again. We get to exhale. Secure. What we modern people do with our intending is we turn something potentially unknown into the known so that we can feel secure, so that we can feel comfortable, so that we can be in the know and not in the navigation of the unknown? Possibly. But this is what we do. Turn the unknown into the known. Seers, however, do something different. They use intending, but they use it differently. Seers, when they're faced with a brand new situation in their lives, a situation that cannot be solved with the tools they solved problems with yesterday. No, this is a brand new problem. This is a brand new situation. I got to figure out something new to do. I got to navigate something new to do here. I got to stand in the moment. I got to be ready. I got to make new decisions, new choices about how to act and where to go. Seers in that situation, they let loose of their conscious mind again. And they dive into their unconscious mind. For some traditions, they call that the rainbow self or the rainbow body. For others, they call it the energy body. But they dive into this self, this other part of the brain, which is extremely vast and holds more possibilities and more memories than our simple little conscious brain does. And they swim in that dark sea of awareness. They swim in that and they seek answers. Outside of the box answers, outside of their conscious mind answers, outside of what they already know and what is known from their conscious mind. They seek information and then they bring it back to their conscious mind and put it to action. Seers, therefore, do not turn the unknown into the known. Seers embrace the unknown. They swim in the unconscious. They find new solutions and they bring something brand new into existence. Now, if you think about our last couple of modern centuries, we've had many people we have called geniuses. We've had many people that have left an amazing, indelible mark upon our culture, our societies, and ourselves. Now, you got to think that poor Benjamin Franklin, all of his friends, all of his Puritan friends were inside their houses and it was raining. Oh, there he was. He was out there in the rain and the lightning with flying a kite connected to a key, the string connected to a key in a jar, trying to harness electricity. And he did. And we have electricity today. I'm communicating with you because of electricity today. There was Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone. There was Isaac Newton, who understood and found gravity and could make mathematical equations in calculus to prove that gravity existed. That same calculus today gets us to the moon and to the stars. We have Einstein. And who created the theory of relativity. That is not only a theory in physics and mathematics, that is a theory of perception. Everything depends upon the eye of the viewer. The eye of the viewer is what determines perception and reality of what I'm perceiving. And we know that at least for Einstein, because there have been many biographies written about him and he was interviewed many times, that how he found these things, if he would have a day, would be awake for a couple hours, asleep for a couple hours, awake for a couple hours, asleep for a couple hours. And he would be in his waking hours, be working on his mathematics. And he had an amazing mind that he could carry his work, his mathematics, into his sleeping dream time. So his unconscious brain, which comes out when we fall asleep, was working on that mathematics. And then when he woke up, he had brand new ideas and continued the course. He was a navigator. He was navigating from conscious to unconscious, conscious to unconscious, conscious to unconscious, to come up with his theories. And it's hard to say if the other geniuses of our times didn't do something similar. Well, among these geniuses is Carlos Castaneda. I know some of you who were born in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, or later probably don't realize that the term New Age, that the term mysticism, that the vernacular words of watching energy, feeling energy, sensing energy, they didn't exist before Carlos Castaneda. Sure, there were shamans 10,000 BC, but Carlos Castaneda, out of a promise to Don Juan, brought this work to the public. No one before him brought shamanism, the talk of energy, the talk of the invisible worlds, the talk of multiple worlds, to the world before him. Nobody but him was on the cover of the New York Times, the cover of Time magazine, talking about all these things. And the ripple, the butterfly effect we have today is we talk about it ourselves. Whether you are a Castaneda aficionado, whether you're doing something else. Our vernacular and our vocabulary is saying, wow, I just don't feel the energy, or wow, I just don't feel the energy of that, or well, I don't like that energy, or I like her energy. We didn't speak like that in the 1950s. All of you who weren't in the 1950s, let me tell you, we didn't talk like that. Carlos Castaneda started that kind of perception and observation, and it is still with us today. And how he navigated, how he brought something unknown, Don Juan's work, into the mainstream world. He worked on it every day. He was diligent. He was deliberate. He might not have spent his whole day doing it, but he spent much of his day doing it. And often, extremely often, he moved himself from conscious to unconscious mind for ideas and then back to implement them again. This is Carlos Castaneda and what we feel from him today, what we have from him today. Now, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for you navigating uncertain times? If Carlos Castaneda was anything, he was a storyteller. He was a raconteur. And he tells a story. I think it's more of an anthropological story. You can find it. You can look it up. You can find it for yourself if you wish. But it's about these monkeys who lived on an island. And they were isolated from all the monkeys on the mainland. And these little monkeys on the island, where there were some natural potatoes beneath the surface of the earth. And they were conditioned, they trained to, dig them up and to grab them and eat them. Now this one little young monkey is going, I don't know what was in his brain, but it was something like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of eating these dirty, wormy potatoes. So he goes and he washes it in the stream, washes that little potato in the stream, and then he eats it. Everybody else is aghast. Huh? Who? What are you doing? Oh, let him do it. Then another inquisitive youngster dug up a potato, rinsed it in the stream, and said, oh my gosh, this tastes so much better. And day after day, month after month, within a relatively short time, the entire island of monkeys were washing their potatoes in the stream. Well, Carlos Castaneda was a very humble person. And he thought that if he could achieve, not necessarily greatness, but if he could achieve stepping out of the box of the consciousness for his and others' good, so could we. And now, more than ever, in these uncertain times, it's time that we train ourselves to find new pathways in new directions for new problems, to find new solutions for ourselves. Whether we want to bring a new dream, whether we want to go to a new destination, whether we want to find a new solution to a new problem, we too can silence our conscious brain by doing magical passes or movements, by breathing, by gazing at an object. You can gaze at an object for about 5 minutes. If you have thoughts in your mind, you brush them aside, but you're just gazing at an object, you're blinking, everything's fine. And after a while, you're pretty silent. And when you're silent, you enter into that unconscious space. And there, you can ask questions, and you will be answered. And you will bring these new solutions back into your conscious space and dream a new dream and live a new life and make something unknown before come into existence. You too can do what those seers did. You too can become a navigator. You too can become a navigator in these and all uncertain times. Now, many of you are aware that coming up soon, we have a worldwide immersion event in Croatia. And I am going to tell you that because of all the chaos in our individual minds and in the world in general, Clear Green is intending Croatia in the biggest way possible because it's necessary. We intend every event. We call every event out of the unknown into the known. But this one is going to take a little bit more. Similarly, in order for you to get there, it's going to take you to intend it too. Because the regular pathways, the secure pathways, may not be open to us anymore. And so we will have to zig and zag and find new ways of getting there. So why are we going to Croatia this time? Why are we having a major 5-day worldwide immersion event? Because after months of chaos, many of us need a little magic in our lives. And I can tell you that something magic happens when we get together. Now, people come in, they might be grumpy, they might be sleepy from their travels, they might, but they leave elated, happy. They leave loving everybody. They leave with a multitude of friends. A multitude of friends that do last you forever, because what you share in these events is the unconscious space. Our egos, our desires, our judgments, our fears exist in conscious space. But when you share something in unconscious space with people, it's vast, it's tremendous, it's lasting. Carlos and Carol and Taisha and Florinda and even us apprentices would kind of theorize, why in the world does this magic happen? I mean, we've been to other events and there's a certain kind of energy there, but it's not what happens here. This is not what just turns people into something else. Yeah. Well, Carlos had a couple theories because when he was attending events, when he was giving entire events himself very early on in 1993, he could see after us, we would do the movements, after we would start into self-exploration. He says, your shields, your barriers between you and separations would just fall off. You didn't need them anymore. Your self-doubt left you. Your defensiveness left you. And what happened then was a web of interconnectivity, which is always there for us, began to grow between person to person. And the whole event became an interconnected web of people living one intention, which was being and getting the most out of that event. Now, another theory he had was, my gosh, at the beginning of every event, we call the lineage in, we call the new walls, either to ourselves, whoever's leading the event calls to themselves, or they say it out loud. This brings the lineage into the event. So all those hundreds of thousands of years of people who have been playing in the unconscious space, that energy comes into play with us. Or he thought, maybe it's like the ancient seers who lived in a place called Teotihuacan, about 780 AD. Those people had a singular intention, and that was when a warring tribe came, they did not want to be overwhelmed, and they did not want to be disseminated everywhere. They wanted to leave as a whole. And so what they did was they lined on their major street, they lined up in formations. These were not random formations. Everybody had their unique spot, and everybody every day or every week went to their unique spot. And what they did was they envisioned what was in front of them. Because the intention was that at one time, when it was necessary, they would be able all at the same time to jump into that dreamt dream and escape the warring people coming in. True or not, that's an amazing story. And what is true from that is when we modern people now, do stand in formation and attend these workshops, something uniquely magical, even more magical, happens to us. And so, like I said, Croatia is a heavily intended event. And so for the first time in any event, we are going to stand and partake of that event in a formation. We will not tell you where to stand or sit, but we will have markings on the floor. And as you walk in, you will find your own unique power spot, and you will stay in that spot. And every time we return to come in, you will go back to your spot. So you will be collecting all your energy and personal power and your perception from one spot of power, from your power spot. This should be amazing. Now, why else are we going to Croatia? Well, it's just darn beautiful. And we were invited to by a 4-star hotel, which then morphed into a 5-star hotel, which is giving us the rates of a 4-star hotel. And it's right on the Adriatic. We don't have to drive a mile. It's right there outside the front door. We walk outside the front door of the hotel, we're on the promenade, and there is the beautiful, clean, blue-green waters of the Adriatic just lapping at our feet. It is beautiful, gorgeous, and there's lots of room there. And how we're going to partake of this is that for the first time also, what we usually do is we have events where we stay inside. Most of the material is given inside, and then maybe at the end we go outside as a group. Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to go for the first time inside, outside, inside, outside. Do some exercises, movements inside, do some exercises, movements outside, do some exercises, etc., etc. We are going to be navigating this event and moving from inside outside. And the other reasons why some more practical reasons why we're going to Croatia, maybe this hotel, because this hotel is brand new. It's only 1 year old. It's got the best ventilation system, air conditioning system in the world. Brand new. And because they are following all the safety guidelines that their government is put into current order. So, these are the reasons why we're going to Croatia, because we all need a little magic in our life. And this is one way to get recharged and rebooted. Now, what are we going to do when you get there? Well, This event, 5 days, it's not a 2-day event, it's not a 3-day event, it's a 5-day event, much like our deep dives when we go to another country like Peru and Mexico. It's a deep dive. And when we go to Peru and Mexico, we have to get our luggage, we have to get on the plane, and just being in another country other than our own kind of jolts us already and puts us in a suspended state of unconsciousness. We're already halfway there. Well, since this location is a little more usual, a little more familiar, we will be spending the first day of this event disassociating ourselves from the known so that we can begin to step into the unknown. We're going to be outside doing different events, and there'll be different events going on all over the place, and you'll have your choice. You can do a drum circle, you can do theater, shamanic theater. We're thinking of having a group of people who have dreamt movements to actually teach their dreamt movements to the other ones of us so that we can learn them and reap the benefits of them themselves. There's going to be a lot going on up there. There's going to be silent walks on the promenade. There's going to be gazing of the water and the sea. There's going to be lots of stuff, so that you leave your baggage behind and step into that unconscious space. And then on the next days, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we're going to start the first day identifying our energy drains. And we're not talking about the big things like our possessions. We're talking about those subtle things. We're talking about something that's deeply embedded inside. We're going to look at our complaints. We're going to look at the times that we blame others, because as soon as we do this, we are in a victim position. We immediately label ourselves helpless to change against the authority of whatever's going on, against them. This is not the perspective of a navigator. This is not the way to have your robust energy. This is a huge energy drain on us. Also, what things do we feel guilty about? What things do we feel shame about? Who told us that we had to be ashamed by these things? We certainly didn't come up with them by ourselves. These are the kinds of things, the deep things, that we are going to identify our energy drains on. And then, once we identify them, then we're going to retrieve that energy to ourselves. And then, after retrieving it and feeling quite amazing to have all that returned energy to ourselves, we are going to intentionally, like the seers of ancient Mexico, intentionally redeploy it into other areas, other habits. What we all need to do, what we all need to know is just me being aware of a bad habit does not change it that much. Because more than likely, I'm going to go back to my default and do it again. But me being aware of my habit and me finding a substitute for that habit is what wins the game. And this leads us into day 5, which we will be sharing with you ways of keeping this energy with you when you get back home. Now, this sounds amazing. Sounds amazing to me. But in your decision to come, the decision is yours. And the first thing we suggest is be mindful of your health, stay healthy. Be mindful of your safety and make your decision yourself. I'm going to tell you a story now. It's a story that Carlos told many, many times. It was about a river in Brazil called the Xingu. And it was a very wide river, very broad river. It could be traversed, for sure. But there were times when the river was so high, there were times when there were eddies in it, there were times when there were undercurrents in it. So high. And on this side of the river, people longed to get to the other side, because on the other side was purported to be the land of milk and honey. The land of things are simpler, the land of ease, a kind of nirvana or heaven, maybe. As Carlos told the story, very few people ventured across that river. The water was cold, was unfamiliar. There was no one to show you the way across. You had to do it yourself. Each time, each day was different. And if you did get to the other side, Carlos made a joke. He goes, there's no assurance that your little bedroom slippers, your little huaraches and sandals are going to be there. There's no surety that all the things you know and all your little creature comforts are going to be there. Most likely they won't. So most people didn't cross that river. Most people stood on this bank and longed to get to the other side. Longed for years, longed for a lifetime. That is the story of the Xingu River. Now, that doesn't mean that even if you want to go to Croatia and you long for it, that you have to go. Again, it needs to be your choice. My choice is made. I've made it for myself. I have made it taking into account my health and my safety. And I'm going to be there, and I am going to navigate and continue to navigate a way through it. But that might not be the way for you. And we respect and love you all the same. Well, a way that might help you decide is going from unconscious space, with movements or visualizing or breathing, like I said, or gazing, into unconscious space. And in there, close your eyes, envision yourself at the event. See how that feels. See if it feels good. If it does, maybe it's something you want to navigate to. If it doesn't, then your answer is made. Then shake that out. Again, stay in the quiet, stay in the silence, and go to the unconscious space and close your eyes and envision you not being there. See how that feels. Let you be your own guide to go to Croatia or not. Like I said, I'll be there with a warm embrace for you all who make it. Now, I'd like to end this with a video. With a video that we posted it a couple days ago on our Facebook page without much context. And so many of you might not known how to receive it or take it or interpret it. But now with all the things we've been talking about, intending, all the things, navigating, all the things we've been talking about today, showing that video of Sir Anthony Hopkins inspiring the class, the graduating class of 2020, how to go forward might be most revealing to you.
Hello everyone. Congratulations to the class of 2020. To all you people all over the world, wherever you are. I know it's a tough one. I'm an old dude. I've been around for years. I live with optimism. But to all you guys, all you youngsters who feel thwarted and put down and hopeless, believe me one thing. I've read someone, I can't remember whether it was in the Old Testament or I think it was a shaman, maybe Carlos Castaneda, but the shaman said there was a drought. Cattle were dying, people were dying in a desert. And the shaman said, build the ditches, dig the ditches for the rain. And they said, there is no rain. Dig the ditches and the rain will come. Now you non-believers may say, oh, that's nonsense. Well, believe what you want. That's the rational mind. I don't think the rational mind is working too well at the moment. It's the irrational mind, the subconscious. All my life, when I was a little boy, I dreamed of where I am now. I may have had a vision, I don't know. Didn't have much hope, but everything happened for me. And now I believe that we can condense time. We can pull it to ourselves. It's not about the future. Oh, I'm going to do something next year. It doesn't exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. The next hour does not exist. It's all potential. But what we can do is drag the time into the present, now, into the solar plexus of our soul. Build the ditches. Whatever you want to do, believe it, believe it, believe it, even if you don't believe. Play the game of belief. Act as if you believe. That is power. That is sheer power. And it will happen, believe you me, from an old fool like me. It's worked in my life, it will work in yours. So never give up. Believe, believe, believe. I don't care if you're atheist or agnostic or anything. Believe, believe, believe. As I have.